we had Smokey Robinson as a guest singer for the program, and that was like a dream come true for me, because Smokey Robinson, we definitely had a lot of Smokey Robinson records in the Hendrix home, and because he was my father's favorite. And just to know, the person that sang the tracks of My Tears and, all the Motown hits and stuff, to be able to be on a stage with somebody that legendary was mind-blowing.
Hello, this is Jazz and Samba Conversations, a show in partnership with the National Jazz Museum in Harlem in New York City. My guest today is known for being one of the most in-demand trumpeters in jazz and beyond. He has performed with the Count Basie Orchestra, Christian McBride Big Band, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, Alicia Keys, and many other famous artists in a wide range of music genres. After our live concert at the museum, we sat down to talk about his career, future projects, and his love for jazz and Latin music, especially for Brazilian music. At the concert, we were accompanied by Marcus McLaurine on bass and John DiMartino on piano. My name is Sam Martinelli. I hope you enjoyed the show.
I met these two guys, David Watson and Darryl Dixon of Chops Horns. And so through the association of the university, prompted them to want to hire me because they saw me perform. And they said, oh man, this guy's got a nice sound. I think they might have seen me in two different situations, maybe like once soloing and then one in the other situation where I might have been playing lead. So, and to play with these guys, you need to have a certain amount of lead chops and stuff, and they certainly need soloists too. So I kind of fit the bill. So they called me for a few gigs, and we used to do a lot of gigs down in New York and in South Jersey, and
just
we
regular jazz gigs.
Funk gigs.
Okay.
Because they have their own funk band called Chops the Band.
Like horn section.
Exactly.
Okay.
But we work as an independent horn section for a number of famous artists, and we did a number of recordings for multiple indie artists, but also well-known R&B artists like Alicia Keys. I started working with Alicia, I believe, also in 2006, and also briefly at these BET award ceremonies, when we would honor a guest, which could be, Whitney Houston was one. She actually performed a song with us.
Nice.
And usually, very often that we would do these award ceremonies, Stevie Wonder was a part of it almost every year, because he's a household name. Everybody loves Stevie Wonder. How can you not love Stevie Wonder? And I gotta tell you, man, and in rehearsal, he
was playing with the band.
Oh yeah, and I'm in the section, and we were the core band that would back up artists like Stevie. Oh my God, the list is long. Monica, Usher. Man, I can't even think. It's so many. Chop's horns claim to fame, other than Darryl landing the solo on the famous tune "Flashlight" by Parliament. That's Darryl Dixon playing the solo on there. You know, the flashlight. You know, so that's Darryl. They had went on tour with the Police, and then eventually from the Police and having a connection with Sting, and that parlayed into them doing some work with the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
And they're on several records with both of those bands, and from that spawned into them doing some stuff for Mariah Carey, and then from Mariah Carey came Alicia Keys, and yeah, these things are highlights, and you know, it's funny, but it's my belief that the music that you grow up listening to, somewhere deep within, it stays within you. Uh-huh. So even though consider myself a jazz musician, at least as my forte, I can play other styles of music. I play funk and play R&B and all these other styles of music. You know, jazz being my forte, that music affects me deeply too, you know, because it's ultimately it's all coming from the same source. It's all Black American music. it's all funny to me that I ended up migrating to jazz because it's still all black music. And then even after I became this hardcore bebop player, now the direction of my career has now led me to the Latin side of it, or the African side of it, becoming more familiar with Afro-Cuban and Brazilian music and you know, things of this nature. You know, I've played in salsa bands coming up in college and stuff like that. So, you know, to me, it's all connected. You know, we all been separated from each other, you know, through slavery and stuff like that. And it's funny that even though I didn't come up as a slave, here I am as a professional musician now rediscovering something that essentially has been a part of my ancestry. Now I'm now having to deal with it as a, you know, an adult, you know, almost 50 years of age. It's kind of interesting how the whole process comes full circle. Yeah.
And that rediscovering of or going deeper into Latin music or Afro-Cuban or Brazilian music, did that come just because of the connection with the Dizzy Gillespie big band and John Lee and Claudio, or that came before?
That's a part of it. It's not all of it. You know, of course, I became more familiar with Brazilian music not only because of our dear friend Claudio Roditi, but also within the mix because of my association with Rufus Reid, because he's my college professor. There was a period where he disbanded his quintet and started a trio, and the trio was Steve Ali, who's from Indianapolis and Indiana, and Duduka de Fonseca.
Yeah.
So through Duduka, I met Mausha, his wife, and so then there's the Brazilian connection there, and you know, they played for me some music, and then of course Claudio was friends with them, and then we would have gatherings at John Lee's house, and sometimes, you know, on rare occasions we would pull out our instruments and gather around the piano and play, and that's how I learned that tune, the frog, rock. So, you know, and and then yet again when we got to meet for the first time when I came to Shanghai Jazz, and we had played that song again because I had fell in love with that song, and you know.
concert that we had at Jazz Forum a few weeks ago, I don't have a lot of opportunities to play with two horns. How two great horn players like yourself and Scott Robinson work together. And also, when I was speaking to Dennis McCrell at the end, and one of the first things that he told me after the concert and listening to the band, he was like, oh man, it's so good to listen great horn players that know how they can play together. You know, like the intonation, the phrasing, and listen to each other. And so I wanted to ask you, or just to expand on that, because you have a great experience in playing with big bands, and Scott the same way. So I'm sure that makes a whole difference when playing with other people, other horn players, and trying to phrase together, trying to
how does
sound
this happen? I think it just narrows down to a matter of experience. I mean, like, Scott Robinson is just such a seasoned musician. You know, he's a veteran, and he's played with so many people through the years, and his concept, you know, it's the way he hears, you know. You know, you can hear his influences, but yet you can hear him. You know, obviously you can tell that he's heavily influenced by Eddie Harris, but yet he's got like the Stan Getz thing, so you can tell he's got that influence too, and he's got many bags. You know, all of us we're influenced by many musicians, and it's not just necessarily on your horn. You could be influenced by people on other instruments too, and somehow it just ends up coming out. And I between him and myself, I just think that we both have so much big band experience as well as small group experience that
it comes naturally.
It's just, especially when you have two horn players that can really play, and they're trying to play with each other and not against each other. When you're in situations like that, it doesn't always gel so well. That's why, you know, a lot of people are against like having all-star groups and stuff like that, because you can put together an all-star band of all of these great players, and they're all individually magnificent. But for some reason, when you put them all together, the magic doesn't always happen, and that's because of ego. Everybody's like, well, I'm me, and I'm, you know, and I'm this, and I'm that, and so when you're dealing with individuals that are dealing, or in their head, or dealing with their ego, that affects the music. And in a case like me and Scott, I think we're both humble individuals, and because and we're both peaceful people, and so it's very natural. Even though we've never played small group before. That was the first time.
That was the first time. No rehearsal.
We've played big band together, but we've never played small group. And that was an eye-opener for me too, you know, and also for him. You know, it's like I'm checking him out, and he's checking me out, and I'm digging what he's doing, and he's digging what I'm doing. And, you know, then we both kind of look at each other like, yeah, man, you know, this is kind of nice. We should do this again. You know, we kind of had those little moments that Sunday afternoon. So, I just think it's a matter of experience and letting a a part of yourself go. You have to, when you're playing music with other people specifically, when you're playing with 5 or 6 or even 7 different individuals, especially when you've never played before, you have to have a vulnerability. You have to surrender yourself to the ensemble and live in the moment and let things happen. And that's why that performance was magical. I learned this lesson from the late, great Harold Mayburn, who's right on that wall over there, my college professor, my freshman year at William Patterson College. And he taught me firsthand. He said, always remember, or at least he used to go around the ensemble room and he'd be like, if you had to describe yourself, how would you describe yourself? He said, are you what he called braggadocious with confidence? Or are you the opposite of that? And he would ask the guys in the ensemble that. And he said, because a person that's braggadocious with confidence is a guy that, you know, they always bragging about what they know, and they're quick to exercise what they know on you. And but their playing can back it up. Whereas I'm not really that kind of a player. I've never been that type of a person. I've always been the underdog. I've always been the one with the least amount of knowledge, you know, like especially at that point in time in my career when I was going to school. My ears were really good and I had a sense of how to improvise, but I didn't really understand how to navigate through changes. I was still working that out. I was still learning about that. I couldn't even really tell you what 2-5-1 was and all of that stuff. You know, I was just learning all that stuff then, and he was always encouraging me. But one of the life lessons that he would say at that time, he said, don't get no ego, because there's a piece of music out here for everybody. And what he meant by that was there's a piece of music that can put you on your butt. So never feel that you're so great that you can play anything, because he said there's always going to be someone or a piece of music specifically that will give you a taste of reality. And that is so true.
anything, records or anything coming up, in the next year that you would like to
of my
people
own?
to know? Yeah, or any other things that. Yeah.
Nothing specifically on the books, of course. Yeah, I'm definitely ready to record my second record. I did make an attempt earlier this year to do one. I had got asked to do a live record date at Minton's Playhouse in May, which we recorded. And the first night, the music is just fantastic. But the problem is that the tracks were too long because we were playing in the moment and stretching. I might have to start from scratch again, which was my original plan anyway, because a lot of the music that I have ready to go now, they're orchestrated for different settings. So, some is quintet, some is sextet, some is septet,
And you are planning to go to a studio instead of live? Or
I think so. And then the way I envision it happening, of course, there's all the deals with if I can get the budgeting for it. I would like to feature some special guests, because I have a lot of friends in the business that I've worked with through the years, and I'd like to feature them, on a song or two, and kind of make it like a collaborative thing. All of my music, but feature them on my music. I don't know when that's going to happen, but if it does, it will be called A New Beginning. That's going to be the name of Freddie Hendrix #2 CD.